안녕하세요. 여러분의 한국어 선생님 고빌리입니다. Welcome back to the second part of this 7-episode video series where I analyze each of the BTS members' Korean speaking. First, for those of you who are new to my channel, I am a Korean teacher. I've been learning Korean now for over 18 years, teaching it here on YouTube for over 10 years, and I speak it fluently. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you my professional analysis of Jin and how he speaks Korean. I'm going to share how his Korean sounds, any unique expressions that he uses, and just overall how his personality shines through in the way that he uses Korean. Now, I myself am not perfect at Korean because I'm not a native speaker, but I'll do my best to be as accurate as possible. And also, if you'd like to see more videos like this one, please give this video a like and subscribe, or you can join my Patreon page and send me more ideas for videos that I can make next. Previously, I covered RM, so today the member I'll be analyzing is Jin, known in Korean as Kim Seok-jin. You probably already knew how this analysis was going to go. Jin was born in 1992 and grew up in the city of Anyang, which is just south of Seoul. In BTS, he's a vocalist known for his visuals. By visuals, that means that Jin is what's known as WWH. You don't know WWH? Well, here, let Jin explain it to you.
Yes. I'm worldwide handsome. 페이스 퍼펙트한 페이스 이
Perfect
나옵니다.
face.
와, 이야.
Now, before joining BTS, he was actually interested in becoming an actor. And this is interesting because I think it affects the way that he speaks Korean, as I'll share in a moment. So let's get right into my analysis, and I'll start with a clip.
소가 웃으면 뭔 줄 알아?
Suga's reaction. Don't worry, this entire video won't be about his dad jokes, even if I'm sure that Jin would want it to be. More than any other member, Jin loves just telling jokes and making puns. Now, as someone who also loves dad jokes in Korean and who's pretty good at them, I feel qualified to explain some of them to you.
그러면 라면이 프랑스 가면 왜 싫어하는지 아십니까? 잠시만 설명만 한 번을 하자. 다 불었어서.
So bad. The joke is, why did the ramen not want to go to France? And the literal answer is, because they all use French. But the joke here is in the verb 붓다, which conjugates as 불어요 in the yo form and means to get bloated. The reason you'll see Koreans eating ramen even while it's still steaming hot is because if you let ramen sit around for too long, it absorbs too much water and just gets mushy. So you would say in that situation that the noodles 불었어요, so they got bloated or mushy. Now, one word for the French language is 불어. 다 means everyone or all, and 쓰다 means to use. So saying 다 불어 써서 is because everyone uses French, or 다 불었어 써 because it all got mushy. These jokes are even funnier when you dissect them.
신이 아이를 낳으면 뭔지 아십니까?
신이 아이를 낳으면
신이 아이를 낳으면 갓난아이.
The joke is, what do you call it when a god has a child? And the punchline is 갓난아이, meaning a newborn baby. Or it's 갓 from the English word God, 난 meaning born, and I meaning child, so God-born child? Okay, just one more.
물로 고양이를 만들면 뭔지 아십니까?
물로 고양이를 만든다고요?
물로 개.
This one is, what do you call a cat made of water? And the answer is water rocket or 물로캣, a cat using water, 물. His jokes aren't always successful though.
고양이를 물로 만들면 뭔지 아십니까? 고양이를 물로?
Yes. Nice job, Jungkook. Okay, I said one more, but here's the actual last one.
오리들의 여왕이 일어섰어요.
오리들의 여왕이
일어섰어요.
Oh no.
선덕 여왕.
What happens when the queen of the ducks, 오리들의 여왕, stands up? Well, you get 선덕 여왕, or Queen Seondeok, the famous queen of the Silla dynasty from around 600 AD. Literally, 선, the past tense of 서다, to stand, 덕 from the English word duck, and 여왕 for queen. Do I have to explain how cringy some of his jokes are? In fact, I'm pretty sure that he made this one up. And actually, the reason that I'm mentioning all of his dad jokes in the first place is because it shows us something about his Korean. Just one more first. Just one more.
그거랑 다른 그러니까
제가 봤을 때 이
어때요?
중에
강도가 어때요? 아차 사는 비교.
강도는 사람의 돈을 스티하는 나쁜 사람.
Yes. He was so fast at that. The word 강도 can have two meanings. The one that RM is using comes from 강, meaning strong, and 도 for a measurement. So the strength or intensity of something. And anyone listening would just accept that that's obviously the word he's talking about, except for Jin, who decides that it would be better to pretend that RM said a different 강도, meaning a robber. Or as Jin explains, a robber is a bad person who steals people's money. I also wanted to add that most of the time when Jin is making a dad joke, it's something that he's heard used before and that he's just repeating. But why he chooses to repeat the corniest ones is still a mystery.
왜 그러는 거야?
Why?
나의 소소한 재미를 위해서일까? 상대방의 감정 고려하지 않고 단순히 나의 재미를 위해서다.
Makes sense. But also many times I'm noticing him also creating brand new dad jokes instantly while talking. And this is what actually impresses me about this whole topic, because it shows me how fast his brain is working. Because anyone can just go around telling jokes that you've memorized, but it takes a certain level of dexterity to create new dad jokes that match the situation you're in. And that's something Jin does really well. I know I said that was the last one, but come on, here's just one more example of him doing this.
아니 근데 이걸로 갖고 가. 벌써 진거 같아.
Yeah. Here, Jin is trying to come up with a team name, and V suggests that they call themselves the Jin team, or Team Jin. And immediately, Jin picks up on this and replies, "It sounds like we already lost." And that's because 지다 is also the verb for to lose. So Jin team can also mean the losing team. While watching hours and hours of videos of all of the members in order to make this series, I found way too many examples of Jin being creative with how he speaks. And I really should stop there and just summarize that I think that Jin is always thinking about what he wants to say. And he's especially skillful at speaking. Really, I could make an entire video just about Jin's dad jokes. In fact, perhaps this is a side effect of being so good at making jokes, but Jin is also able to speak quite fast when he wants to.
제가 이 찐을 위해 굉장히 지금 맛있는 음식을 세팅해놨는데 여기는 마치 이탈리아라고 타원이 아니에요. 지금 여기 깔려있는 음식이 PASTA 파스타, PIZZA 피자. 와우.
Yeah, just accept that every single clip I have of Jin is him being goofy. But what's special about his style of speaking is that although he can get pretty expressive, and I'll talk about that more in a bit, he doesn't mumble or mash his words together. It's always very clear. And if you just know the words and the grammar that he's using, he's fairly easy to understand for a native speaker. In fact, I'd say he's one of the easiest BTS members to understand because of this, at least for me. In other ways, though, he can be a bit more difficult to understand, and this, I think, has more to do with his age. Since Jin is the oldest member, he was born in 1992, he speaks a bit older, but he also tends to speak even older than he is, like in 아저씨, a word that's often used to mean a middle-aged man.
같이 밥 먹어요, 여러분들. 네, 맞아요. 이거 드시죠, 이거. 그냥 먹어요. 한번 해 죽는 거야. 너는 뭐 먹는 방송 한 번도 못 봤니? 여러분 이 음식 좀 보십시오. 이야 정말 맛있겠네. 이런 거 한 번씩 해주는 거야 우리.
When he gets upset or excited or just wants to be goofy, which is fairly often, he tends to exaggerate his intonation. And this is also a common style of speaking among, well, 아저씨.
아 해봐요.
계약은 내가 더 먼저 했어요.
계약은 너가 먼저 했는데 내가 그 연습실에 앉아 있을 때 내가 남준이 본 거는 하루 이틀 그거 아니야.
But again, the actual words that he's saying still sound clear. And if you're used to that sort of exaggerated intonation that he's using, Jin's not any more difficult to understand than any of the other members. Another thing that you probably notice is that he tends to put a lot of emotion into his speaking. For example, he raises his voice or uses exaggerated intonation, and I think this has to do with Jin's interest in acting. He puts a lot of extra emotion into what he says. This next clip, just for some context, they're playing a game known as 끝말잇기, where the next word that you say has to start with the last syllable of the previous word someone else said. So like 김치, 치약, 약속, and it's a popular party game that you'll see a lot of celebrities play on TV.
자 그럼 나부터 할게. 바나나.
나비.
비늘.
늘.
비늘?
늘 푸른 생선. 그래.
나 이거 봤어 어디서.
손. 선풍기.
아 봤어.
기.
차가 어둠을 헤치고 은하수를 건너면 면발.
Here, Jin jokingly says 늘 푸른 생선, meaning evergreen fish. Now, I think he's actually referencing a funny news article back from the time, which Jungkook picks up on. And then he starts singing the theme song in Korean for Galaxy Express 999. Now, let's take a moment to look at his writing, though. I was able to find various examples of Jin's writing, but first, let's look at this letter that he wrote to his fans. Honestly, his writing isn't that pretty, especially if we compare it to RM's writing. But it's definitely legible, and there are some interesting things to point out. Now, it's not just this letter, as we'll see next, but all of his sentences are concise and straightforward. For example, this one. 생일을 맞이하니 정말 기쁩니다. I'm so happy to celebrate my birthday. Now, the majority of his writing that I've been able to find has been short sentences, but even his longer sentences are also very straightforward. 제 생일이어서 기쁜 것도 있지만 제 생일로 인해 우리 아미 여러분들이 즐거워하고 트위터나 카페에서도 같이 뭔가를 하며 놀고 즐기는 여러분들을 보니 더 기쁜 것 같아요. And I'll do my best to translate this one too. There are many things to be happy about since it's my birthday, but I think I'm even happier seeing all of you enjoying my birthday and having fun together on Twitter as well as in online cafes or online forums. And while a beginner might see this sentence as long and complicated, someone who knows all of the grammar he's using, and I'd say it's all intermediate level at most, would have no problem understanding this sort of sentence. So I actually think these sorts of letters can be useful as Korean practice. And I have one more example, so let's look at a postcard now that he sent to Jimin for his birthday. He refers to Jimin twice as 자식. And while this word can be used like a swear word, here it's being used lovingly between friends, kind of like saying, Jimin, my man, or Jimin, you fool. And then he continues with, here. And then he continues by saying, 지 입만 입이고 내 입은 주둥이냐? Which is a funny way of teasing him because apparently Jimin had eaten a lot of good food on his birthday all by himself without sharing. So basically like, how come you didn't share any food with me? In fact, this whole postcard is just Jin teasing Jimin. But then at the very end, he does say this. 형이 사랑하는 거 알지? So you know your 형, your older brother, loves you, don't you? So even though it's clear it's just a joke, Jin is also still admitting that it's a joke and that he actually does care a lot about Jimin. But one thing I haven't mentioned yet is that Jin isn't just the older brother to Jimin, but he's actually the older brother to all of the members. And because he's the oldest, that means he also gets to speak completely casually to everyone else. And he does. In this clip, he's trying to describe the food, but all he's able to say is the ingredients that are in it.
빨간색 고추장을 집어넣었어. 먹방이라는 것은 재료를 추측하는 것이
Jin's face.
진짜 궁금해서 물어봐. 저 이런 거 배우고 싶어가지고.
나도 이렇게 시키니까 안 나와.
혼자 있으면 나오던데.
혼자 있으면 나와.
Since Jimin was born in 1995, when he speaks to Jin, he uses 존댓말, so polite speech. And he asks, is a mukbang just trying to guess the ingredients in the food? And you can hear his polite speech when he says, 진짜 궁금해서 물어봐요. So I'm only asking because I'm curious. So he's speaking politely to Jin, but Jin just replies to him with 반말, so casual speech. And Jin replies with, 나도 이렇게 시키니까 안 나와. Essentially, since you asked me to do this, I can't think of anything to say. And here's another example where everyone was taking photos while doing flying yoga. So pay attention here to how Jin speaks to RM.
하나, 둘, 셋.
네 맘대로 하면 어떡해 남준아. 셋을 네 맘대로 하면 어떡해 남준아.
So RM was just making up his own timing for taking the photo, and Jin yells at him, and what he says is, 셋을 네 맘대로 하면 어떡해 남준아. You can't just yell out 3 whenever you want, Namjoon. The ending here of 어떡해 is casual speech, and it's perfectly fine to use this sort of speech toward your close friends who are the same age as you or younger. And in this case, since the other members are all younger, it's fine for Jin to use it. But you won't hear the other members use casual speech toward everyone openly like this, except in certain situations, such as when they're joking around, which I admit they do a lot. However, I do need to say something else about casual speech, and that's the word 너.
한번 해 주는 거야. 너는 뭐 먹는 방송 한 번도 못 봤니? 여러분 이 음식 좀 보십시오.
We saw this clip before, and here Jin uses the word 너, which means you, here as 너는. And this word is only used in casual speech. However, not only that, this word 너, or 니 in some cases, should never be used toward anyone who's older than you, even if you're close. And that's because it can easily come across as rude if it's misused. But in Jin's case, he's fine because he's older, and you'll hear him using this word 너 fairly often toward any of the members. And this now brings us to the last thing that I want to point out, and that is Jin's usage of dialect. Yes, did you know that Jin also uses some dialect? Now, Jin is from the south of Seoul and speaks 표준어, which is standard Korean, but both of Jin's parents are actually from an area called Chungcheongdo, and people from there tend to have a specific dialect. Now, some features of Chungcheongdo 사투리 are slower speech, and oftentimes it can sound more friendly. Now, since Jin didn't grow up there, he usually doesn't use any sort of extra intonation or unique words from that area, but what he does fairly often do, perhaps unknowingly, is Chungcheongdo verb endings. In standard Korean, this verb ending would be 환장하겠네, which is a casual expression meaning I'm gonna lose it. But a dialect version is 하겠네, and you can hear him use this ending rather frequently.
해가 맞아요.
못난이가 아닌가벼.
In standard Korean, this would be 아닌가 봐, which means I guess it's not. And here he's saying that he guesses that those weren't the right lyrics to the song. But a dialect version is 아닌가 벼, so 봐 becomes 벼. And if you pay close attention to Jin's verb endings, you're pretty much guaranteed to run into lots of Chungcheongdo dialect. And I guess that's what happens when both of your parents are from that region. Again, while he's not using the dialect in full sentences, he does use this sort of verb ending on a regular basis, and I really enjoy it when he speaks like this. I've shared with you dad jokes and dialect and everything. All of this is actually the reason why Jin is my favorite member in BTS. Jin, 보라해요. However, since he's currently serving in the military from December of 2022, it might be a while before we get to see him performing together again with all of the other members. But hopefully the time will go by quickly. And okay, I could keep going on and on, but I have to start work on the next video. So that's it for this time. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more. Also, if you'd like to support me in making more videos just like these, please also consider joining my Patreon page or becoming a member here on my channel. In fact, it was originally a supporter who asked me to make this series about BTS in the first place. And there are links for how you can support me in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐!